studio is risking everything. We're already seeing pushback.
Samara, I read that you went to your dad for a little advice on this role because he has a film noir PhD, which is pretty helpful to have. What was it like to grow up around that? And like, did you feel like you had sort of a leg up on this role?
You would think I would, but having a father who's making you watch film noir films 24/7 as you grow up, you get a little tiresome of it. So yeah, I called him and asked recommendations, and Rope and The Postman Always Rings Twice, and To Have and To Have Not, and Sullivan Travels, and yeah, it was very helpful. Thanks, Dad.
Rolling! If we change the way that movies are made, I think you can change the world. I want you to be the star.
Really?
Darren, in this movie, you're a director who's passing. Is passing ever something that like ran through your mind because you have a Filipino mom?
Yeah, it's an experience and a concept that has only been I've only been aware of for the past like few years. I mean, that was a title that was given to me recently because my whole life I've just been me, and like I've just been Filipino, and like that's kind of it. And it's not until you have somewhat of a public persona that, a lot of people come out of the woodworks telling you what the nomenclature is to make sure to identify and represent certain things. So I'm sort of still navigating it like a baby deer learning to walk as far as what I represent to people, because I've always just kind of been me. This is what the show talks about, whether it's your gender or your cultural identity or your sexual identity. There are things that, there might be certain barriers to a few of those things. And so, like Raymond having this, especially in a place with as high walls as the 1940s, if he has this passing card that can allow him to have access to opportunities, this is a really good chance for him to be able to kind of break those walls down and say, all right, guys, let's get in there, let's do stuff. And while I was doing his interviews, the plight that I just said is exactly what Ryan Murphy has been doing his entire career. As a filmmaker, which is using film as a social justice crusade in order to knock down those barriers and be an advocate for people who have also historically been marginalized in the past. It's an interesting thing that he wanted to put that part of my story into the show, to give it a little bit more immediacy. That's what's cool about all the different characters in the show. They all come to this table of trying to change the Hollywood landscape with their own experience, and trying to, and their collective force is what's adding to this sort of collective change. It's not just queer identity. It's not just Black representation, Asian American, or any person of color. It's having all underrepresented, people being given a voice. And so, I'm just a tiny little part of that, being my half Filipino self.
It ain't about whether you win or lose. What's important is being in the room.
Do you have a favorite picture from this era? Maybe something you watched from the movie, or maybe something you had, watched years and years ago?
This is such an iconic era of film, but I definitely tried to do some research and see some things that I haven't. And, I was really inspired by Dorothy Dandridge for this. So I tried to watch a lot of her movies, and Carmen Jones was probably my favorite, which was a few years after our story takes place, but definitely feels of the time. And there was a great Katharine Hepburn movie that our costume designer actually told me to watch called Woman of the Year, which is just so beautiful, and the clothes and the looks are amazing. And it's Katharine Hepburn, and it's super cool. So it was really fun being able to do the research and sort of immerse ourselves into this era that's just beautiful to look at.
We aren't just making a movie. We're making history.